You're listening to The Real Wealth Show with Kathy Fettke, the real estate investor's resource.
Welcome to another Real Wealth Story. I'm Kathy Fettke, and Rich Fettke, my co-CEO and co-hubby, or just
Co-hubby.
is here
Hello.
here with me today. And we've got Maggie and Marc McKinney to talk about real wealth. Welcome back, you guys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, great to see you.
Yeah,
Well, we are focusing on real wealth stories, which is not so much about accumulating millions of dollars, although that's nice, but really accumulating millions of minutes of great memories and really a life that people dream of. And I think you two really represent that of one way of living real wealth. I think a lot of people will be inspired by.
Yeah, it's really, real wealth really is about living life on your own terms. And I think you guys do a really good job of living life on your own terms. So we want to kind of dig in and find out more about that and how you're doing that and what you plan to do.
Yeah, sounds good. Happy to been very lucky and have a very special, awesome life. So happy to share it.
Awesome. So, I think we should do a little backstory on Maggie for people who don't know who she is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Maggie came to work at Real Wealth Network many years ago. Do you know what the year was, Maggie?
I think it was 2009.
2009. Okay. She came
Right
in as kind of an assistant / office manager, and then took over the whole Real Wealth Investor Academy and our live events, and then moved on to become the director of syndications and oversaw that. And then she said, I'm taking a sabbatical or I want to. And so she wanted to travel the world and visit. How many countries did you want to hit by the time you were 30?
So the original goal was just to hit one country on each continent by the time I turned 30.
Yeah, that's a pretty good goal. Awesome. And did you accomplish that?
Besides Antarctica, except for Antarctica.
Right,
yeah, I did by 2 months. I think we got down to South America in October, my 30th birthday year, so it counted.
Awesome.
Really close.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I want to point out that you had a really clear goal, and a lot of people have ideas and wishes and wants, but it's never put in writing as a clear goal that this is going to happen. And you did. And I remember at one point you were kind of stressing out because you're like, oh, I'm going to be 30 and I haven't made it to these continents. So you booked your flights. After that, then that wasn't enough, right? Then you wanted more. So what was the next goal?
Then she said, I want a man.
Oh, yeah.
Watch out. The next goal, travel related or just like life investing related or I feel like I get lots of different goals, but after kind of going to one country on each continent, we kind of realized I had a job that I could work remotely. Obviously, everyone at Real Wealth already kind of works independently. So being in the office wasn't really a necessity. And so I kind of approached you guys about working remotely full time for so that we could just kind of continue our travels. You guys were open to it.
Absolutely.
And
I think
I've been doing that for 4 years.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I think that, it's partly part of the inspiration for Real Wealth to become a remote and virtual company. It's almost 10 years ago when we were looking at that and making the transition, and we ended up ending the lease up in Walnut Creek at our office, and now we're a 100% remote company. So you're a big influence on that.
Yep.
But coming back to what Rich said about finding a man, you were very clear about that it was time for a partner. You were really clear about what you wanted. And then you met Marc, and it turns out he had been living across the street. You didn't even know it, but you ended up meeting him online, even though he lived across the street. That's funny.
Yep. Yay, okay, Cupid.
Yeah. Yeah. And then as I recall, Marc was traveling a lot with his business, and that's kind of how that started, as you wanted to spend more time with him. So you asked, well, can I go to Monterey for a week while he's there and work from there? I can get everything done, I promise. And it worked out. And that's when you discovered that you could get the job done remotely.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's right.
So I got a question for Marc, for starting with Marc. We talk about real wealth. We talk about living life on your own terms, having the money and the freedom to live life on your own terms. So what is it for you when you think about what real wealth is to you?
I guess real wealth to me is not being tied down to too many things, having a lot of, time to do what you want, kind of when you want to do it,
Nice.
for the most part. Part of that's, just getting rid of a lot of the material things we used to have. And by being more minimal, it takes a lot of stress off your life, I feel like, and you can stay more focused on the things that are important to you.
Mm.
Obviously, traveling, you can't take a lot with you. So you kind of learn to deal with it for a bit. And then after a bit of time, you realize, well, there's not all these things, that you see on TV or commercials, going to the stores that you really need. There's only certain things that are really important to you. And by
Because you
doing that,
guys,
it,
you
it,
guys went for many months and just backpacks, right? Isn't that all
Years.
that you brought?
Years.
yeah,
Years,
it was
yeah.
almost 4 years, returning to the States every few months to attend work meetings or family events, and then going back on the road. And then obviously COVID happened, and that's kind of slowed things down a bit, but we're still out here making it work and hope to get on the road again when we can and it's safe.
Nice. What about you, Maggie? Same type of
Yeah.
definition? Or?
Yeah, I mean it's very close to that like real wealth definition, you know what I mean, of having the time and the finances to kind of live life on your terms. I mean, it's very like, yeah, that's what I want. I want to have the financial means and the time to just kind of take off when I get an idea, having that kind of clear, I don't know, like mental state and just financial state and just being able to kind of follow my ideas, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I know when you both realized it was time to just hit the road in backpacks, you didn't just put a bunch of stuff in storage, which to Mark's point is more burden.
And
You just got rid of it, right?
Yeah. No, we literally sold anything that we weren't sentimentally attached to. My parents have a storage unit in Red Bluff, and so we just kind of put, our photos and the kind of stuff that we couldn't replace there. But yeah, for the most part, we got rid of everything, all of our furniture, like just big old garage sale. And Mark sold a bunch of cars, nothing, it's all gone.
Yeah, amazing. And so financially, I mean, obviously, Maggie, you were still working for us full time for a long time. You took the last year off after you two got married. But what have you learned about money in this time? Obviously, you've had to really budget. When I look at you on Instagram, you're at really nice places, sometimes beachfront. Like, what have you learned about the cost of living and living your dreams?
It's a lot cheaper outside of the US and California.
Yeah, especially California. Right?
Yeah.
Is like the big secret. I mean, at least that for our lifestyle and for the things that we like to do, being outside of the States, it has been a big help for the budget, being outside of the Bay Area. I mean, just when I think about how much money we spent in rent in the Bay Area, once we just kind of got rid of our apartment there and we're living abroad, I mean, it's just, you can't really compare it. You know what I mean? Like we couldn't spend that much money on apartments. I mean, you could, but so just kind of being conscious of that there are places with more affordable costs of living, and that's kind of how we get around it for the most part. I mean, obviously, like you said, I was working full time, so being able to kind of maintain that level of income and go someplace where it went farther really kind of helped me financially. Just pay off debt, pay off anything. Like we just weren't spending as much money. So I guess it's really like just controlling expenses.
Yeah, I mean, eliminating debt was a big goal of both of ours before we headed out, because that frees up a lot of money and not having.
Do you have student loan debt?
Student loan, credit card.
Yep.
Just any type of debt, and then also getting rid of everything and moving like that, eliminating nearly every bill we get. So
it's like cell phone bill. That's
a phone bill. If that's the only thing you really need to pay each month, then that frees up a lot of time and money.
Yeah, and your real estate investors too, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So we also have a duplex in Cleveland. That's just cares for itself. I have two renters in there, and they cover the mortgage and all the expenses. So it's just kind of going along doing its own thing.
Is there money left afterwards? Is there cash flow?
A little bit right now. I'm have kind of a friend deal going on right now with one of the tenants, so I'm paying less than market rent. But if I had two market rent tenants, we'd be making pretty good money.
Oh, good for
Yeah,
you.
it's a great, really, really nice
Yeah, even
unit.
then, I mean, somebody's, covering your mortgage, so there's
Yep.
not
Yeah.
too much to complain about,
Yeah.
even if you're not getting a huge flow at the time.
Yeah, you got an asset there for the
Yeah,
long
yeah.
haul. Yeah.
Well,
What are your plans next? Anything with real estate investing beyond the duplex?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would like to. I mean, this was kind of my tester just to kind of see how real estate investing went, if it all worked out. Obviously, working with you guys and all of our clients for so long, we'd seen it work a bunch of different times, but it's different when you kind of do it yourself. And it's like, okay,
Yeah,
let's
a little
kinda see
scarier.
every property is
what
different.
happens here. Yeah, and so that worked out really well. But yeah, I definitely want to buy more in the future. I really like our place in Cleveland, where that's actually where we are right now, is in Cleveland. We love this city and love this area, and our duplex is in Lakewood. So I'd like to get some more in this area in the future. As you said, we kind of are just coming off of a sabbatical, so I'm still kind of figuring out yeah, what my next steps are professionally. Obviously, still working with you guys in a lot of ways, but also trying to figure out if I'm going to do something else. So once I kind of figure that out, then it'll get back into investing mode. But yeah, so far it's worked out really well. So that's my long-term retirement plan, is to get some properties. So
Good for you.
yay, some
Nice.
family.
Yeah, and Mark, you've used your points for a lot of the travel, right? And have found
Yeah.
ways to make travel pretty cheap.
Yep. Just signing up for credit cards, using those offers, making sure to pull off or pay off the full balance each month, and
Smart.
collecting those points, and using it to travel around the world and get free airfare and things like that. Definitely helps, and it's something with anyone with good credit you could do.
So you open up a new credit card and you get travel points for that?
Right. There's usually a minimum spending balance over a period of time, which, when you're traveling, renting places and eating out all the time or buying flights, it's pretty easy to hit that goal.
Yeah, right.
Get the points in your account, and then, just put the credit card away, don't touch it again, and you usually come out a little bit ahead.
Now, do you close the account or you just don't use it? You pay it off and don't use
I
it?
tend to, yeah, just keep it open. They'll close it after a few years if it's inactive, or if it's one of the ones with other perks. We'll keep using it, but yeah, it's always better to keep them open because it helps with your credit balance.
It does. I mean, Rich, you've been working a lot with our credit consultant, and you need to keep your credit cards open and maybe use them occasionally for a start, a coffee or something like that, and
Yep.
keep
Yep.
using them, but keep the
And
balance
pay them
low.
off. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I paid off my student loans, and that actually hurt my credit report.
Yeah, that's
That's
funny.
really wild. Huh?
The
Yeah.
paying each month, falls off the report, and it's only minimal points, and it bounced right back. But
That's
kind
so funny. We were just doing a refi on our house, and the lender said, Kathy just does not have enough credit cards and she doesn't use them.
I know. You need more lines of credit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
So
crazy.
yeah.
Yeah. So what would be one tip, I guess, from each of you for someone who has dreamed of doing what you're doing, to say, I'm gonna take a sabbatical or whatever, I want to travel the world? What would you say is the most important thing to look at first?
having somebody to travel with helps a lot.
Aw.
Good.
Yeah, explain that a little, because I know you guys have your unique, you bring your kind of your unique abilities to travel. Mark, I know you do a lot of the planning. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, traveling around, it's something obviously people can do solo. Maybe if I was 10 years younger, right out of college or something, I would love staying in hostels and meeting
Right.
people all the time. But when you're traveling, one of the hardest things about it is you don't get to see your close friends all the time. So
Mm.
being able to have somebody that you get along with really well, and in this case, love, it makes traveling so much smoother, that much better. We run into problems, we're able to work it out. It's a good test of a relationship,
For
and
sure.
um, yeah, it's worked out well.
Nice.
Good tip.
Yeah. What about you, Maggie? What would be one tip you'd have for someone who's
Man.
thinking?
Yeah, really. I guess for me, like you said earlier, I was working remotely for most of it, and I really enjoyed that. I think that's a trying to find employment opportunities or jobs, and I think now, like, in a COVID world, there's a lot more of those opportunities to work remotely. That's been just
Absolutely.
an amazing opportunity for me. You know what I mean? Being able to be location independent and finding, either building up the skills that you need to find those kind of jobs, or just finding companies that are open to that kind of thing, even if it's, you know, part-time work. I mean, is a pretty amazing opportunity, especially if you are coming from someplace like the US, and able to kind of go somewhere else where your money goes a little bit farther. I mean, it's a pretty amazing opportunity, and that's it's enjoyable. I don't know. I really enjoyed working and traveling because it, you know, we go slower that way.
Hmm.
I kind of get to find, okay, what would my rhythm be in this country or in this city? You know what I mean? So it'd be like,
Interesting.
okay, I have to find my coffee shops that I like to go to, you know, in pre-COVID world.
Yeah, where's the Wi-Fi?
Yeah, where do I get my Wi-Fi? Where do I work? Like, okay, get into your rhythm. Okay, like work's done. Like, let's go get a drink or happy hour or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's a unique experience that's different than a vacation experience, and one that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's easier now after all this pandemic and people learning how to use Zoom and
Hmm.
GoToMeeting and Skype
Yeah,
and FaceTime and all that stuff,
yeah.
and just
Yeah, I think there's going to be a big opportunity for a lot of people who maybe traditionally didn't have a job that would allow that. This is kind of like accelerated that trend of being like, no, you can. Like, you don't have to be in an office. You don't have to, like, you can do that on a Skype call. You know what I mean? So I'm excited for other people to have that opportunity that I've had so far.
it's awesome.
Yeah, and one of the ways that your partnership worked is that, you know, Mark would kind of scout the city while you were working.
Yep.
You know, from 9 to 5, you're working with us, and then he'd come back and say, "Okay, I found all the cool things, all the cool restaurants," and be able to take you there in the afternoons and on weekends.
Yeah, it's quite a gift.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because that is really, it seems like the fear of the unknown is why a lot of people won't travel. And the places that you've gone, I'm like, are you sure that's safe? You know, and it has been, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
haven't had any problems.
Planning is important, but having a lot of flexibility is important as well.
Mhm.
You run into opportunities you weren't expecting, and then you're able to say, hey, that sounds like fun, let's go do that. Or following things like currency around the world, you can find, you know, when the dollar is very strong in a certain area, not in this case right now, but it's a good time to head to Europe when exchange rates are quite favorable, and you can save a
Yeah.
lot of money that way as well.
Another great hack. Yeah, he's got a lot of them.
Right. Yeah. It's like an investing hack in a way.
Yep.
That's really cool. That's great. Well, you guys are definitely living real well, no doubt.
Yeah, and then like in some ways you're totally untethered, you know, and yet at the same time you're building a real estate portfolio. I think
Mhm.
that's really important for people to understand is, you know, you well, let me put it this way. Someone just asked me again, does it make sense to buy an investment property or a primary? And the answer is, well, it just depends. But
Hmm.
with the investment property, you get way more benefits. You get all the tax benefits that you wouldn't get on a primary, and you got someone else paying off your debt for you, but you still have a foundation, something to
Mhm.
come back to if you need to,
Yep.
right? Or that's building your future while you're building your current life, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it just depends on the circumstance. Like you said, you know, some people like know exactly the neighborhood, the city, the town, like where they want to live and die. You know what I mean? And that's cool when you find like that space and those roots. But if you're kind of someone like us who we're a little more nomadic in general and just kind of like different experiences, we don't really have one place that we like to stay and we only want to be there. Like we like the flexibility to kind of jump around and see all these different places and visit, you know, our friends and family wherever they are. So yeah, buying a rental definitely made a lot of sense. I don't think it would have made any sense for me to buy a primary like at this
Mhm.
stage in my life right now.
Hmm. Yeah.
However, what's cool is that with people who can work remotely now, they could buy their primary
Mhm.
because it's only 3% down if they do and live there for a period of time and then rent it out. So they can get the benefit of that loan for a primary residence. But a lot of people don't realize that you don't have to stay in that home forever. You
Yep,
can get a loan for your primary, but you can still rent it out in the future if you move.
It's like
exactly.
it's like the old don't wait to buy real estate and wait, but you could buy
Yeah.
real estate and travel.
Yeah. There you
Exactly.
go. Yeah. Well, I know now you're somewhat settled in Cleveland, right?
Yep.
You renting
At
there
least
now
for the next 6 months.
6 months until things open up again, and you quarantined in Ireland, is that right?
Scotland,
Or
yeah.
Scotland. Yeah.
Yeah, when everything kind of started shutting down, we were in India, and then we decided to kind of move into Scotland, and we thought we could wait it out there for a couple months, and we're hoping, okay, maybe in 3 months we'll be able to kind of continue our travels. But yeah, they just kind of saw the writing on the wall that we weren't going to be able to go anywhere. So we're like, okay, let's go back to the States and go, see family and friends. But yeah, we've kind of just decided to be stationary for a little while. Mark's from around here. And it's a city that I love visiting. I never spent a winter here, so I wanted to see if I could like handle like a Cleveland cold winter. And so far it's been awesome. I'm digging the snow. So
Nice.
that was kind of the plan. So we'll be here until May, and then we'll see what we do after that.
Super cool.
I'm just curious. There's been a lot of criticism of the US and how we've handled this coronavirus situation. You have traveled the entire world and could probably see how different countries have handled it. Would you say it's true that we are more irresponsible, or has the US handled it the same way other countries have?
I mean, so have we handled it the way? Okay, so we came back in June, so we didn't really spend a lot of time in other countries, but we were in Thailand and India when it was first kind of starting to ramp up in March. And then we were in Scotland for March to June. So I would say I feel comfortable kind of comparing Scotland to the US. Maybe I couldn't say how the rest of the world is doing to the US.
Real world,
Yeah.
experience.
But Scotland definitely in the beginning of the pandemic shut down significantly more than I was seeing in the US. Maybe not California. I wasn't in California specifically. I feel like they pretty early on were trying to do lockdowns and social distancing. When we got to Scotland, it was very like, you knew it was a pandemic. Like things weren't open, stuff was closed, people were staying away from each other. You didn't see like so much of the hoarding of like supplies there. They definitely had like signs on like store windows that say like, hey, only take 2 rolls of toilet paper. Like you don't need all of that toilet paper.
People actually listened.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Do you want to go?
No, I mean, it's hard to judge.
Yeah.
You're seeing how a lot of places in Europe handle things, and now they're having a surge just like we are. So maybe that's weather related. People are more indoors when it gets cold outside.
Right.
And then there's that balance of keeping the economy open or shutting things down.
Yeah.
Other countries shutting things down could work, but you also need to give austerity to the people so that they have the money to stay home and hunker down. You can't just shut the economy down, tell everyone to stay home, and not give them anything to get them through that period.
Tough call. Yeah.
Are other countries that you know of more active in that?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, at least as far as Western countries, Canada.
Yeah, Canada,
France, Germany, places like that. They've covered cost of the employer, so people can keep getting paid, and they'll have a job once things open back up. They're trying to do things here with stimulus checks and expanded unemployment and things like that, but it doesn't really catch everybody and keep things going necessarily.
Oh, the $600 isn't going to get very much.
No.
Well, at least 7% of this latest bill is going to cover the individual. The rest goes to whatever. All right.
And we're a diverse country, so $600 in California is not going to go as far as $600 in, say, Nebraska. So there's some issues there too with us being such a big and diverse country.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Sure. Good point.
All right. Well, wonderful to see you again. We've got Maggie coming back on board at Real Wealth as a consultant. We're excited for that. And this will give you something to do while you're hunkered down in Cleveland.
Exactly.
Right, yeah. It's better than scraping a windshield.
It's a mild 40s today. So.
Oh, nice.
Good. All right. It was so good to see you guys, and I hope to see you in person sometime soon.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll see you guys when it's safe.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing your insights and inspiration. I can't wait to hear which of our listeners decides to take off and live their dream, just like
as
a result of
I want to know.
Or how many.
How many? Yeah. All right. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here on the Real Wealth Show. We'd love to hear about your real wealth story.
Yeah.
So if you have one, you can just reach out to Tanya, Tanya at realwealth.com. That's TONYA. We'd love to interview you to find out how you're living real wealth.
Yep. Or how you plan to live real wealth. I would like to hear about your goals as well.
Yeah, wonderful. And again, you can go to realwealthshow.com to see this and any past episodes. Have a wonderful new year. Bye-bye.
Bye.